Catus, Maximus here, interrupting the performance tool week to talk about this Indestro Select 6470 half-inch drive pair head ratchet. This would be an open head ratchet because the ratchet pawl and part of the head is indeed exposed to the elements. These types of ratchets are not as bad as people think, and kind of a shame that they're not really around anymore because they work just fine unless you get tons of grit and crud actually inside the mechanism. You never have any issues with them slipping or anything like that. They tend to be quite reliable and actually pretty heavy duty. I've been pretty surprised. For the strength and operation of a ratchet, these style ratchets have always been very cost competitive just because you have less machining than you do in a sealed head ratchet. But of course, they've all been replaced by either sealed head pair head style sealed, or round head ratchets. One of the things about these open end ratchets is they always tend to be 36 tooth, pretty low tooth count. Another thing is the way it's designed with the fork is they all use some type of mechanism to press fit the parts together. And then in this Indestro, or the case of this Indestro, the actual gear wheel is hollow, and they will press in the anvil once they slide the gear wheel into here. We have a Klein spud ratchet, ironworkers ratchet, which is also an open head, but it's pretty heavy duty. You can see they have quite a bit of forging there. In this case, the anvil is one piece, but they have this steel ring here which they press in to retain it. I also have this old Thorson 77M, and it's the same thing, open head ratchet. And in this case, it's the same thing. The ratchet, the square pawl is actually press fit into the wheel. But this does have a couple nice little bevels, and this sticks out a little bit further on the Thorson. Nice little knurled handle there too. Anyway, some of the other advantages that you can get from these, besides just simplicity and good value, is one, they are reliable. They are pretty strong. This mechanism or this type of forging is definitely pretty tough, particularly for its size. I don't know if it will be quite as absolutely strong as maybe some sealed head ratchets, just because there's a bunch more steel and support, but they've always been pretty good. The big deal with these is just how small the pair heads are. If we take this icon here, we can see that this pair head just has significantly narrower right there, just quite a bit more space, particularly when you're in tight access areas to swing in there. And probably a final note on all these style ratchets is something that you've been noticing, that they don't have any screws or anything. There's nothing that really is there to fall apart or fall out on you. And if you do get crud in there, the nice thing is that even though crud can get in there a little easier, you can spray tons of brake clean and stuff and clean it out just as easily as well. On this particular Indestro, ball detent's pretty strong too. I really do like that. And kind of like the way it sounds when you get the exposed pawl. Really pretty nice. And once again, these are the type of ratchets which really do hold up pretty well. You never have issues with them locking up or giving you kind of weird, operational issues, and they've just proven to be reliable. It's just that designs moved more towards the sealed head, the fact that machine tools are just much more common now, and so they can do the more complex machining that's involved in these for about the same cost as what one of these was made more traditionally, essentially by hand or manual machining. And that's one of the reasons you don't see forging seams, is because all the CNC belt grinders these tools are run through. Or on this, it was ground and chrome plated, but they just ground the majority of the flashing off, but you still have that characteristic where you see the nice forging flash line there right along the flat of the ratchet. And they forge it all as one piece and then run a cutter through there and drill a couple holes and then press it all together. So anyway, but I did pick this up for $8. So did want to mention that and do a quick video. I've received a few comments about these open style pair head ratchets, and quite frankly, I do like them. I think they are, many situations, they are just fine. And I like their kind of compact nature and tried and true reliability. Even though things like these Icon straight heads are pretty nice with their 90 teeth, there's been lots of issues with these high tooth count maybe not specifically with the Icon straight handles. I do like the straight handle Icons, just not so much the flex heads. But I've even experienced with like Titans and several other ratchets where they have issues where they're either locking up, or protos where they have problems where in this icon with their floating pawl ratchets where you have issues with them self-reversing because the pawl gets stuck and drags the switch with it. All those types of issues just basically came about with floating pawl high tooth count ratchets. They never had those types of problems with this. This ratchet will never accidentally reverse itself on you. You may be holding it in a certain way and hit the pawl, but otherwise really pretty tried and true, and I do like these style, and so wanted to bring attention to them. And then this is just a classic kind of wedge handle, but just fine. And I haven't reviewed, I don't think I've ever reviewed an Indestro tool specifically on this channel, so glad I had the opportunity. And one last quick comparison here. It's interesting because this Klein, it's a Japanese-made Klein, has a pretty heavy-duty, well-forged head. I think this is more designed just to take physical beating being dropped, because the pawl is just a lot thinner or a lot narrower than this Indestro, and I'm not so sure that the steel is that much greater. And also the hinge pin is actually quite a bit smaller on the Klein than it is on this Indestro. Even though there is more steel associated with the head, of course, the strength would be just these two pieces of webbing right here. And we can see those are also about the same. The Klein does have just a little bit narrower or shorter of a head, but it's only a small amount. So not in all cases are certain much more known brands such as Klein really better than brands that maybe weren't as well known, such as Indestro. Klein stood the test of time. They're still around. Indestro, unfortunately, is not. But it's just interesting to compare some of those different design characteristics. So anyway, just want to bring that to your attention. If you do run into a decent condition, one of these old Indestro open head ratchets, don't turn your eye away. If they're a reasonable price, you may find that it's a ratchet that you may like and that you have no issues with. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.